dirty. It's not over. God does not lose. Even though we come to this juncture, trust me, you will see that our God does not fail.
This is not the
I
first
know
time
that this is wickedness. This district attorney, Miss Kathy Todd.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird another one. I'll give you a quick live before I pop out. And I was waiting actually for this verdict before I came on live. I was going to do another live, but I'll reserve that for tomorrow. Talking about the situation with Meg the Stallion and Tory Lanez. Now I want you to hear me very clearly what I'm about to say to you. If Meg the Stallion, this is separate from actually the situation, but if Meg the Stallion can produce a body of work, 1 or 2 albums after this situation, I'm telling you now, she will be goated after this. Because whenever you suffer a strong adversity and you're able to overcome it and you're able to reach the top of the mountain, I'm telling you now, that's a story that people can buy into. Now, putting that aside, I got to be very honest with you. We all knew Tori was going to jail. Okay, we all knew Tori needs to go to jail. Okay, now here's my biggest thing. Like I said from the very beginning, the fact that Tory's team never turned against Kelsey is what was really palpable for me. Just from a non-legal perspective, somebody who just listening to a story. Just listen to the story. For me, the fact that the team didn't turn against Kelsey and make her the person who shot her, somebody shot her. So it's either, somebody shot her. Okay, I'm gonna be real with you. Somebody shot her. I was expecting Tory's team to eventually turn against Kelsey and be like, you know what? We think it's her, right? I thought so. I thought at least that. But no, y'all, you wanted to keep to your story that, you know what? It wasn't you that shot her, and it wasn't Kelsey that shot her. So somebody shot her, but we don't know who shot her. It came out of the blue, right? So suddenly we've got a question to ask. She shot herself out of the blue. You know what I mean? And I think just listening to a lot of the echoes and the sounds that's been happening around this particular situation, in terms of Meg the Stallion and Tory Lanez and everything as well. I'll be honest with you. I feel like this is a vindication, because let's be freaking real here. The situation with Tori shooting Megan, the first conversation was, she wasn't even shot at one point, because of the reports that came out. And actually that started out because Megan didn't even really want to do this. Like, can I be honest with you? I'm not trying to make this males versus females, women versus men. I don't want to make it that. But what I do have to point out the facts of what I did see in some of the nonsense and the shenanigans I was seeing online. Okay. And so one of the things that were kind of being said upon, which was that she didn't get shot and this wasn't happening. And that was the original situation. Right, that was original kind of nitter and natter, and Tory himself even almost coming out with his team and saying she didn't get shot. That then added and escalated to now your music, and you trying to use your music as a way to speak about the situation and say, you're innocent, you haven't shot anybody, yada 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 yada. Yeah. And then we get these particular bloggers and particular people on public forums and stuff like that who also are backing this rhetoric. And it felt like, and somebody felt like they were being fed false information to make Megan's lies become the paramount thing about this situation. Number one, she got shot. All right, that ain't a lie. The evidence is there. Her foot's there. She got shot. And what for me is crazy about the situation is, the denial of like just obvious things happening. Like I remember when this first dropped, somebody said, I think some people were saying, she got shot in the foot and she's out, clubbing and whatever. And it's like, yo, did she get shot or not? Like that's irrelevant. Did she get shot or not? All right. That's a key question, right? Um, and so for me, it's just like this whole situation has been problematic from the very beginning in the way that it's been um, uh, discussed. And I literally played that video with his dad, and his dad, I think, was screaming about the situation in regards to Rock Nation, and it's a setup, and it's this and that. And I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. I'm happy to believe in conspiracy theories. I'm happy to believe that they try to take people out. I'm happy to do all of that, right? But let's just keep it a buck. You know, this is not a setup when you shoot a bullet out of a gun. Yeah, you ain't set up. Okay, can we be real? You haven't been set up if you shoot bullets out of a gun. You haven't been set up. Okay, you run that risk. You know what I'm saying? You run that risk. It's like me saying I slept with a girl unprotected. And listen, don't get it twisted. She may have her own agenda, but I've got to agree. So unless she's raped me, sorry for the strong words there, apologies. But unless she's unless she's literally forced me and held me down, and you know what I mean, then at this point I haven't been set up. I set myself up. And we have to be accountable for these actions and stop trying to wriggle out of it and make it and stop trying to force this narrative that is the other person um this other person to do something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a mad situation, you know. Um so yeah, it's crazy on that point. So this verdict of him being hit with three counts, Chile. I think I was following Megan Caniff. I liked her tweets that she was putting on us because she was updating us about the situation. And she was talking about uh, the situation. Let me see if I can get her tweets about this particular case happening and the verdict she gave. But she speaks about this situation as well. And I just want to quickly just read some of the tweets that she put up, and you can kind of see what I was looking at. So yes, if you don't know, he has been found guilty. He has been found guilty. I think what's really, let me just explain this. What's really painful, I think, about the situation is the way that is a way that certain things were done, and the certain ways of things that people have said about the Megan situation. She's lying, and then trying to use her sexual history as a way to show that she never got shot. It's just dumb. Like, she got shot. Like, you can't undo that through her sexual history. Like, I know we wanted to, oh, she's a liar, and promote that she's a liar, and women lie about these kind of things. And it's like, but you're forgetting that even the case it's not Meg the Stallion who put this case forward. Meg the Stallion isn't the one who is putting the case. She's not prosecuting. She is a witness in this particular thing of her own demise. So she has been called to witness to her own situation, and that means it's the state. If you want to call it the state, the government, they're persecuting Tory. Now, this beef with the government and Tory, he put himself in that situation when he's firing a gun. And do you know what? If you want to talk about form, you want to talk about history, let's talk about Tory. Let's talk about how he got into an altercation with August Alsina walking down a freaking corridor. You want to talk about, do you know what I mean? Like, this kind of stuff, I can't defend this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's sickening. I can't defend that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? I can't defend that kind of stuff. That's not the government are putting black men in jail. No, you need to go to jail. That's the kind of stuff that you need to go into jail. Yeah? It's not JayZ's fault. Okay? All right? It's not JayZ's fault. You know what I mean? It's not JayZ's fault. It's not Rock Nation's fault. You're in a situation where you shot a gun, and bullets were fired. Now, there's this whole talk of whether it was Kelsey that shot him in the foot. Let me be honest with you. Like I said, why didn't his team turn against Kelsey. This is the part that really frustrates me. Okay? This is the part that frustrates me. Why then did not Tori team turn against Kelsey? Instead, they rather wanted to discredit completely Meg the Stallion. Why not try to find out, is it Kelsey who shot her then? Right? You shot five. You shot 5 bullets in the air. Fantastic. 5 bullets in the air. Now they're not about to land and enter into her foot. I'm sorry. The laws of physics. Unless someone can say this to me, I don't remember the laws of physics of shooting bullets in the air, it landing, and it landing, and then it kind of deflecting into somebody's foot. You know what I mean? I you know what I mean? So for me, I'm a little bit confused by it. Okay, I'm a little bit confused by that, right? As someone said, also, he did have the opportunity also to take the stand. You truly believe that it's Rock Nation. You think it's Jay-Z coming after you. You better take that stand, right? You believe it's a conspiracy against you. You better open your mouth and talk. You better take that stand and use those minutes that you got to come at Rock Nation and Jay-Z. Then, if it is those people, sorry, right? If it was Jay-Z and his crew, and it was Illuminati, and it was all the powers that be, I'm gonna tell you straight. Listen, okay, all right, then I'll say this. Hey, I'm gonna say this. Then you had a chance to go and stand and talk about it, right? If it's about your innocence, then my friend, I would say, listen, you better come out. You better come out and say it. But you had 2 years in between that time to say the truth. You should use your platform instead of trying to dethrone Meg the Stallion, because Meg the Stallion was not the issue. Should have been dethroning Rock Nation and Jay-Z. You should look. If I know I'm gonna go on a limb, I know that the fight that I'm fighting is beyond Meg the Stallion. Meg the Stallion is not my issue. The issue is bigger than Meg the Stallion. It's the powers that be. You better open your mouth and say something. But then you can't be trying to discredit Meg the Stallion. Meg the Stallion is just, as you were saying, was just, Meg the Stallion was just, just a proxy, right? So I'm saying again, you hadn't. Yes, he wasn't allowed to speak. We know that during the course of 2 years, he wasn't allowed to speak. But now, then he had time to come and testify. You had a chance to speak. I mean, he did speak because he uses music. Right? He uses music. But Kelsey wasn't the one that you were blaming. There was 2 people that shot a gun. You, Kelsey. So one of you shot him. So that's what I'm trying to say to you. I'm telling you that one of you shot her. Now, maybe why he didn't take the stand is because, you know what? Maybe on good behavior, he'll get let out in a few years' time. Right? Maybe in a few years' time, you know what? He may get the full brunt of the law, but maybe in a few years' time, he might get out on good behavior. Maybe that's why. You know what I mean? Don't testify so they can't. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. So for me, someone said he didn't choose take the stand, which would have been in his favor. If he did, prosecutor could have introduced his prior criminal assaults. Yeah. He got form. He got form on this. So yeah, I'm disappointed on this situation with the determination of Tory Lanez. I mean, like I said, I've been saying it from the beginning. I ain't never liked the Tory Lanez situation with Meg Stallion. And in between that time, brother was still getting himself into trouble. In between that time, he was still getting himself into fights. Is that Rock Nation too? Is that Rock Nation too? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you've been getting into altercations in between the 2 years' time. Is that Rock Nation too? They set you up with that as well? They set you up to beat August Alsina's IS? No. Let's keep it a buck now. I'm not about it's almost like defending your boys from the hood that do madness. You're trying to do, what do you mean? So they set you up to beat August Osina's ass as well. I just want you to know. So they set you up for that one as well. Hmm? They want you to they pushed you to beat his ass too. Come on, bro. Like, you know? So I'm gonna be honest with you. I think for the safety of those around him, safety of Meg the Stallion too, it had to happen. Because it's wild. It's absolutely wild. I want to read some of the tweets that was by Megan Caniff quickly. Let me see if I can get to her latest. Actually, let me see if I can, because she was talking about the case. Actually, okay. So what's been happening? There we go. Okay, so okay, so she's tweeting from the first. She says the court has released the jury notes. Get out of my face. The recent one sent today at 10:11. Jurors wanted to hear the prosecutor's gun expert's testimony about double back safety. They wanted to hear some of Meg's testimony too, but changed their minds. We, the jury, in an above entitled case, request the following Mr. Baffian's explanation about double action safety. Megan's testimony about contacting her team after she was shot. Transcript of Kelsey's September interview. Do you still want a read back of Megan's testimony? No longer needed. Megan's testimony only the firearm expert. Okay. So it says a note shows how Judge Hereford responded to this morning's jury's request yesterday afternoon for a better definition of willfully on purpose. Words and phrases not specifically defined in this instructions are to be applied using their ordinary, everyday meaning. So they said they want a better definition of the word willfully and on purpose. And they said here, response here, willfully means having a purpose or willingness to commit an act. Please refer to instruction number 875. There is no legal definition for on purpose. Words and phrases not specifically defined in these instructions are to be applied using their ordinary everyday meaning. And so it says again here, as a request for Megan's testimony, please clarify what you mean by her team and clarify what time framework you are referring to. Jury letter said they no longer need to hear Meg's testimony as point. But I want to go to the actual. So here we go. So she said, obviously, the jury has convicted Tory Lanez for all three charges of 2020 shooting of Megan Stallion. Crazy, downright scary scene in a courtroom as his father and stepmother screamed about wicked injustice. Tory Lanez's father stood up and guessed and screamed, "This is wicked system." He screamed at the prosecutors that they are evil and they know exactly what they did here. His stepmother stood up screaming and yelling. Father was yelling about Rock Nation. Tory Lanez was remanded on the spot, led out handcuffs by sheriff's deputies. There are 6 total in the courtroom, 2 at the door and 4 behind Lanez, and it was quite a scene when they tried to get Lanez's father and stepmother under control. One woman in the gallery held up her hands as Tory's father was screaming about Rock Nation and wicked injustice, repeating the name of Jesus. Deputies were forcing them all out in the hallway and telling the gallery we had to stay seated. One woman turned and looked at the reporters sitting behind her, including me, and said, "JayZ is a B. Report that JayZ is a B." Okay, so that was the little that she did about. I don't know if she actually put in more tweet. Let me just have a look. Maybe she put another. Okay, cool, fantastic. There we go. Right now, reporters are in the media area on the 12th floor, hoping to get a comment from someone. 12th floor is the only area where we can record and take photos. I went outside to see what the scene's like. Lots of people about Tori's family isn't around. Can't get back into a courthouse to get back up to 12th floor, but I'm sure if someone does talk on camera up there, it'll be readily available and I can post it for the masses. People are a little bit rattled by the chaotic scene after the verdicts. Lots of adrenaline pumping right now. Meg the Stallion's lawyer has released a statement. The jury got it right. I'm thankful there's justice for Meg. Deputies were able to manage the scene. I heard Tori's father screaming, "Don't push me," but never saw a huge fight, but it's very chaotic for several minutes. We could hear Tori's father scream from the hallway. The deputies yelled at us to stay in the courtroom and we were allowed to leave, but we were filing out. We could hear Tori's family in the hallway, and the deputy told us told us the hallway wasn't clear and we needed to go back into the courtroom. We didn't get to leave for another few minutes. Tori's family's on the other side of the courtroom from the media, talking with Tori's lawyers. They made it clear they didn't want to talk publicly. Tori was handcuffed and led out of the courtroom by deputies, wearing his powder pink pants, while turtleneck and longish jacket. There were young children seated with Tori's family in the gallery. One girl who appeared about 8 was crying as Tori's stepmother hugged her. Boy, it's a madness. Okay, let's leave that alone. So, listen, you know, I am not moved. I'm not moved by the situation. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not moved by Tory's dad, screaming, saying about the Rock Nation, because there are many parents who come out. There are many parents that come out and say, my son, my daughter's innocent, because they don't really know their son or their daughter. You know what I mean? They don't really know their son or daughter. And so sometimes, you can scream, shout, the Lord, Jesus is going to fight for us. And Jesus looking at the baby, he did it. He going to jail. He did it and he going to jail. Okay? Sometimes you are going, not even sometimes, when justice prevails, you're going to jail. Simple as. This is not a sad situation like, oh my God, we've got a black man in jail. No, you got to go to jail. Okay? You got to go to jail. This is not a, black man, we're being done hard by the system. Rah, 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 rah. No, you got to go to jail. Okay? You got to go to jail. You got to go to jail. Yeah, you got to go to jail. So, yeah. No biggie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've got another 10 minutes or so. So let me just give the link to Seaway. I know she wanted to say something, but I'm going to keep it short because I've got to go out. So I'm going to get Seaway just really quickly on it as well, quickly. But yeah, disappointed. Not disappointed. I think justice has prevailed. And I think we should be happy that justice has prevailed. And this is not about being detrimental to black men or to even our community. If you do wrong, this needs to be sorted. So I honestly do feel like this situation is not nothing of those kind of stuff. So yeah, Tori, it's a shame. It's actually big shame that you were in that situation, but you will learn your lesson now. You won't shoot your gun like you did as well. All right. So yeah, let's keep it a buck on this one. This also aside, this is what situation tomorrow we're going to talk about some situations. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Master P Romeo situation. I'm going to break it down further because there's some great videos coming out. Brittany Renner going to talk about as well. We're going to talk about obviously Akon as well, because I really want to talk about this situation. I really want to do this situation because there's a lot that's going on there. But I'm gonna let Seaway come on just for 10 minutes so she can give her point of view on the situation with the Meg the Stallion situation. Hey, Seaway.
Oh, hey.
What's goody?
Well, I know you probably didn't have a lot of time, but yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you're saying. I think that this is a surprising verdict in many ways and not surprising in another way. I would say for a DA's office, like LA, this was quite a chaotic case. And the different witnesses and the witnesses going missing, they still can't find Meg the Stallion's bodyguard. Different witnesses for each party flipped. So you had Kelsey that flipped on the prosecution, so meaning they didn't testify like they were supposed to, and then the defense's witness flipped on the defense side by testifying that he saw the gun or the pew pew sound, lights flashing from Tori as well. So I think to say he should have testified, honestly, I think anything he would have said would have contradicted somebody. It would have contradicted his own witness. It would have contradicted Kelsey's witness. Kelsey, it would have contradicted Meg. I don't even know if him testifying would have helped. but I'm honestly, I'm happy, but I think by the time I got to the eyewitness testimony, I was really confused how the jury was gonna go, because it was just really chaotic, and usually chaos does not lend to the side of actually being convicted. But I do think when you actually look at when you actually look at what he was charged with, you can kind of see how he was convicted, because the guilty of negligent discharge of a firearm, that's one of the charges. I mean, regardless of who you believe, pretty much everyone, no one discredits the fact that it went off. And even the defense's own witness said that they saw the him shooting in the air, so that's negligent on its own. And I think a lot of people thought he was not going to be guilty because they discredited Meg so much. And I think
Why
the
do you
jury,
think that was?
I
In your
mean,
opinion,
they started the discrediting campaign back from even what you said with the she never got shot at all. It went from she never got shot to the bullet, there was no bullet fragments in her feet, to this and that, and then it's putting her sexual history on up for display. And because she lied on Gail, they tried to make it seem like she was lying, period. But in my opinion, Tory Lanez's attorneys did a good job all the way up into the closing argument. I think they didn't realize that you're going to piss women off in the jury by making your closing argument all about a woman's sexual history. I don't know why they thought that was going to work, but that was really just, I feel like they tanked whatever opportunity they had for a mistrial completely by their messy closing argument. It was completely messy. And I also think that we are looking from the court of public opinion. People have to remember that the jury is not seeing all this mess. They're not supposed to be seeing the blogs. They're not seeing what academics are saying. They're not seeing that TikTok lawyer who thinks he knows everything. They're not seeing none of that. They're just looking at the facts and they're reading the statute and they're saying, did this person negligently fire a firearm in the air or whatever, discharge a firearm? Yes. Did this person have a firearm unregistered in his vehicle? Is that undisputed? Is that pretty clear? Yes. The only iffy one is, did he actually assault her? Did his actual reckless actions actually cause the bullet fragments in her foot? That was the only iffy one, because it's still quite possible, based on the chaos, that Kelsey had something to do with it. I kind of believe deep down that Kelsey was part of some of that tussle, and I don't think we're ever going to know if she also was part of that. But the jury was like, it's enough information that Megan testified to seeing him holding the firearm and shooting in her direction. The jury believed that was enough. So
are the jury kept away from media completely? Or do they're kept away from the media completely?
Yeah, you are not allowed to look at anything, watch anything, listen to anything, nothing.
I don't know. How do they stop that? How do they make sure that no one's listening to that? Because I'm trying to think how you do that in this common day and age.
I think they scare them. I mean, there's always an opportunity but they'll tell you, and I'm sure anybody in the US who's been on jury duty, they'll say, like, we will check what you search for on the internet. Like, if it comes down to, let's say you go home, right? And you're in a house, you have roommates, and your roommates see you looking at the shade room. If they report that back to the court, you will be removed. So I think people are scared, especially in the day of technology. We can see what you looked at. We can see what you searched. We can see where you are not supposed to be on any type of social media that's going to be talking about this case, no independent research. And they kind of tell you, if we find out that you were doing your independent research, you're thrown for this jury and you're violating, pretty much. So, but you're right. It's hard to figure out, but I think they try to scare people into submission.
So what role does then Kelsey play into the situation? Because obviously we know that she had some immunity. Apologies from the situation, and and stuff. But what from your perspective, like what did you observe, or what do you take from that situation as well?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because this immunity issue was really confusing, especially with the shade room just throwing up stuff without any explanation. She had a very limited immunity. She had immunity, whereas the prosecution could not take her testimony and use her testimony to charge her. That doesn't mean, though, for example, that when that eyewitness basically said, hey, I seen flashing lights also coming from Kelsey. I also seen Kelsey beating up on Meg the Stallion. I also seen them dragging her across the street. The prosecution, based on what I heard, never promised that they wouldn't prosecute Kelsey for other stuff that came out. They promised that they wouldn't use her testimony to incriminate her. She did not have the overarching immunity. And on top of that, will they do it after how messy this case is? I don't know. I do think they're going to hit Tori for separate witness intimidation. I do think they may hit her for perjury charges. I don't know if they're going to come back and try to hit her for also negligent discharge of a firearm or any other type of assault, because you don't want to do anything that will mess with Tory's appellate case, which I do believe he will appeal. So I don't think they want to messy the waters by trying to go after her for anything like that right now. I do think, though, they will probably try to go after her for perjury, because she really made a fool of the prosecution and of the criminal justice system altogether. Like, she made a complete show of the whole situation. It was honestly chaotic. And I don't even think you see that type of chaos in these type of crimes, serious crimes at that high level. You're talking about in LA, Chicago, and Cook County, in New York. These are very well-oiled machines with very, very, long trained prosecutors. And to have all of that stuff going wrong, I'm pretty sure they're going to try to go after her for something, for making a fool out of them. So.
So obviously, but the witness said obviously that they saw that a woman fired, and I'm assuming that wasn't Meg. Again, so is there a case for her to be charged later on for similar to what Tori was, which is the reckless use of obviously firearm in this particular case? Could that also be the case, or is that something that just probably not plausible in this particular situation?
I just feel like it's not likely, because based on Megan's testimony, she never testified to seeing Kelsey shoot at her. So okay. I feel like that would make it a past inconsistent statement if she was like, the prosecution couldn't use Meg to actually testify against Kelsey, because based on Meg's statement, she said that she never saw Kelsey fire at her. So she can't then later get on the stand and say, oh yeah, now that I think about it, I saw Kelsey shoot at me too. That's a prior inconsistent statement. So I mean, they could try to use the eyewitness or other folks that maybe had a better recollection of what happened and go after her. Do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I think it's likely? I don't think it's likely. They just need to make sure they don't get any type of appellate issues with this particular case, and possibly go after Tori for witness tampering and go after Kelsey for perjury is where I would spend my time, honestly, because there needs to be consequences for the type of lying that went on that stand. There has to be consequences. When you're a witness,
just to be clear.
Yeah, the consequences that perjury needs to be a real thing. It can't be like some abstract thing. Oh, you need to know, if I get up on that stand and lie, these people are going to come after me. Also, there needs to be serious consequences for witness tampering. Same thing happened in the R. Kelly trial, where R. Kelly's people were intimidating witnesses, and they were convicted for intimidating witnesses. One of them just got some years for that. You can't be out here giving bribes, giving money, paying for Kelsey's lawyers, all the stuff that he was allegedly doing. That's making a mockery of the system. And I do think they're gonna go after them for that. And then these blogs also saying inaccurate things. You had lawyers on TikTok saying inaccurate things, people who do not practice criminal law, never have practiced criminal law, up on TikTok saying any and everything, the shade room giving like inaccurate statements or statements without context. It really reminded me of the election fraud stuff. Like, you guys say Tory Lanez is DNA is not found on the firearm. Tory Lanez DNA was not found on the magazine. You have to be clear, you know what I'm saying, about what you're saying. And they were just like throwing out like just little catchy news sayings, and it was really misleading the public, and it caused a lot of emotional distress to Meg that I don't think was fair. And I think that was horrible. You know, the blogs also, I feel like some way, somehow need to be held accountable for some of the misleading things that they said, because I think that caused Meg a lot of emotional distress that she didn't deserve. Because like you said, it's the state going after Tori. She's a victim and she's a witness. And she was not treated as a victim or a witness. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. And last, I know you got to go, Code.
That's right.
They were talking about deportation. His offense of his aggravated assault and is definitely one of the offenses that are grounds for deportation. You can't be deported if you have an appeal going on. So I'm assuming that he's going to appeal.
Okay.
So he won't be deported until then. The time he's going to get, anybody who tells you they know, they don't know. I think it's all going to go about what accountability he takes, because he's taken zero accountability up until this point. So if he changes his tune and takes accountability and really apologizes, you know, maybe he could get probation. Maybe he could get something, a different type of sentence. But if he keeps on with this charade that he's keeping on, I don't know what type of sentence he's going to get. So.
Why do you feel like that the blogs were reporting in the way that they did, some of the blogs? Because there was quite a few blogs that were. I kind of stayed out of the blog situation because I wanted to have someone a bit more credible discussing some of these things, because blogs, we take, even myself, I take what I need to be taken from it. So why do you feel like the blogs were in such lieu with the situation with Meg and Tori situation, from your perspective?
It was a perfect storm. I think the fact that there was no cameras allowed in the courtroom, it literally allowed blogs to kind of run with whatever they wanted to run with. And I think that's the problem. Thank God that we had Megan Caniff and those other two reporters from the LA, I don't want to say LA Times, but something like that, out in LA. They were actually giving us the most objective kind of rundown that we can get. But outside of them, it was like whatever random people said who happened to be sitting in the courtroom, the blogs tried to, I think, capitalize off of the constant wavering. Like, and it wasn't all bad Meg. Sometimes it would be Tori did this, and then all of a sudden we jumped to, oh, but there was no DNA. Oh, we jumped to the eyewitness said this. I think it was kind of like real Housewives of Tory Lanez trial. Like, that's what it felt like. And I think it was hard for them to. I think there was a lot of people who showed a lot of restraint, but I don't think that was easy for a lot of the blogs to do. They wanted to sensationalize it.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember if Tory ever admitted that he did shoot. I know we always had witnesses who said he did, but I can't remember if he actually said he did shoot. Did he actually admit to shooting at all?
No. They have him apologizing to Kelsey on the jail call. They have him offering money, but he never in any statements admitted to shooting. The closest thing we have is Kelsey's statement to Megan's missing bodyguard that Tori, oh my God, Tori shot Meg. And I think Kelsey makes a similar type of statement to somebody else, a similar type of present sense impression, what they would call it. Oh my God, Tori shot Meg. But not, and I think the bodyguard may have said something back to her as a conversation. But that was it. So Tori was pretty smart. He never says he did that ever.
Did that, yeah.
but he did a lot of things that show guilt, which also goes into his guiltiness. He did a lot of stuff that showed he was guilty. Why are you calling everybody and apologizing? What would you be apologizing for? You know? So I think the takeaway from this is the fact that, do I think Tory's a horrible person? Maybe not a horrible person, but I think he has some abuse issues, alcohol, drug abuse issues. I think he has short man syndrome and some anger issues. And I think also everyone was heavily intoxicated and had access to firearms and methods to harm people. And I think that's the saddest part about this story. Even Megan could not advocate for herself, I think, to her best ability, because she too was intoxicated. It is so important not to be in those type of situations with people who you do not know for a fact love
very well,
care about you, will make sure that you're out of harm's way, you know. And maybe he was so out of it, he told himself he didn't do it. You know, when you convince yourself of a lie so long that now he believes, maybe he believes he didn't do it at this point, you know. Yeah. And everyone wants to make it seem like Black women just hate Tory. I was the hugest Tory Lanez fan. All of his music is on my phone. I actually, like, now that he's guilty even more than ever, I have to figure out how to, like, move away from that. Yeah, because I don't support people who harm Black women. But so many of us were bigger Tory fans than we were Meg the Stallion. I've been to like 4 Tory concerts. Like, this is not the what I wanted. But the fact that he's shown zero accountability, remorse for causing harm to her is the part I think many Black women and many people just can't get around. Like, not only did you never apologize, you let the media drag her and call her a liar. And to me, that's my problem. If you would have said you guys were all drunk or high, you did something that changed a lot of people's lives, but you're sorry and you want to make amends, I'm pretty sure Meg and other people would have had a different feeling about it, but he's never shown any accountability.
And I think that's the biggest issue, isn't it, really? And that, you know, there's no accountability. He's maintained that he never did anything. He's maintaining that he never shot. And just certain behaviors, like you said, certain behaviors that were shown that there was some guilt there. Do you know what I mean? Or at least you felt that, you know, you did something wrong that night, that you were apologizing for some stuff, right? And I think that in itself is the guilty admission. But I think he's also clever enough, smart enough, like you said, also to never have also come out outright and say etc. etc. You know what I mean? You know, and that shows his cleverness as well. You know, that he had some foresight. Hey, this may come out later on. I can't come out and admit that I shot you on anything that would be able, like a text that can be screenshotted. I'm not gonna ever say that I shot you. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, even though you know that the whole situation ended with her saying her foot looked like she'd been shot, you know what I mean? So, it's one of those situations in that respect. So yeah, I think, you know, with I think in this situation here, you know, he will have to have a really, really tough sit down with himself, and just look at the situation for what it really is. Like I said, I was surprised they didn't go after Kelsey, because one of us shot her. So I would have been turning, I'm like, yo, I definitely didn't shoot her. So there's only 2 people that were shooting guns, and we know our bodyguards didn't do it. So I'm gonna look at you, because at this point in time, I don't care if I love you or not. I'm not going to jail for potentially 22 years on 3 counts, and you also shot out of the gun. And like I said, we don't know if necessarily if it was a straight shot. We can't say that 100%. So how do I know it's the one that I shot is the one that shot her? How do we know? No, it's not the one you shot, and you shot her. Like, yo. So in that case, for me, I'd have been like, yo, baby, let's make sure that Kelsey ain't the one that did the shooting. Let's figure this out. That'd have been my story. Let's figure this out, exactly what happened, because we need to know who shot her. Because I don't think I shot her. So, you know what I mean? I don't know if that.
Yeah, if he really believed that Kelsey shot her, if that's what he really believed, he would have said that in the beginning. He would have said that.
And that's my thing.
He never did. And if
Kelsey
believed that she shot her, I don't think when you're in that type of a chaotic situation, your first thing isn't to say, "Oh my God," create a lie. You're in panic.
Yeah.
That's why I believe that even if Kelsey was part of a tussle, maybe she was a part of a tussle of some sort, I don't believe she literally is the one that actually pulled the trigger, because the things that happened in the moment do not make sense. And he would have flipped on her. He didn't flip on her. Tori doesn't protect Black women, so why would he protect Kelsey? There has to be a reason, because he knew that he flipped on Kelsey, Kelsey's gonna flip on him, and now it's for sure two. Now it's 2 against 1, because Meg has never said that it was Kelsey. Meg has never said that, and they're beefing. If she thought it was both of them, she could have said it was both of them. Both of them did that. Then it could have been 2. I'm accusing Kelsey, and I'm saying both of you guys did that. So to me, we got to go with what makes sense. No one needs a law degree to think about, like, does that really make sense? If Kelsey really did it, why wouldn't have Tori switched on her from the beginning?
I mean, obviously, she gave her statement in the very beginning that night, that they obviously took her statement, and her statement was very clear. If anyone was going to give a statement, that original statement was very, very, very clear. They played it in court. And again, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, and of course, I understand that the court game is not necessarily always about truth, but it's about what you can prove. It's facts. You know what I mean? But your daddy is screaming out here, Jesus is going to defend you. So I think truth at this point also is very much important too. So I need to let people know that definitely wasn't me who did this very thing. Do you know what I mean? And
I think that was a game changer. That recording, even if they didn't believe Meg, that recording and Kelsey clearly lying on the stand, I think the jury probably had it made up. They had their minds made up. And then I think the eyewitness probably could have caused some confusion.
A little bit muddy up.
The eyewitness said, "Hey, I definitely saw the short man shooting in the air and shooting all around." Now you got the eyewitness who said it. You got Kelsey in that 80 minutes that said it. It doesn't matter that she's on the stand lying now, because they clearly can see she wasn't under duress, telling a perfectly concise story. And then you have Meg's testimony. And then all the defense has is people coming from Kylie's party disparaging Meg. I think, and then people misunderstanding ballistics and how that works, and how easy it is to have multiple people's DNA on a gun, how easy it is to have inconclusive DNA if someone had opportunity to wipe the gun, cover the situation. People also forgot that Meg at first tried to cover Tori by saying she stepped on glass. So there was a lot of opportunity between when they were tussling outside, they drag Meg into the car, they get Meg into the car, they get someplace else when the police had time to come. Tori had lots of time and opportunity with that firearm to do lots of things, and I don't even know when they actually confiscated the firearm. I don't even know when they did that. So, there's a lot of missing pieces to that. So that DNA evidence was not the game changer like the shade room tried to make it seem. It wasn't that. So
yeah, I think that's also, I definitely agree with that as well. And I think that situation, and my thing is also as well, like I said, from the very beginning, like you said, that I think for me, if I'm on a jury and I hear that testimony from Kelsey and I see you're doubling back on the stand later on, my natural instinct is you got paid off. I'm sorry, because there's no way you can tell me such a concise and clear arc of a story of what you witnessed, even though you might have been drunk or high, whatever. You coming up with such a clear, concise story at that point, and then coming on the stand and suddenly going at points in time, I've got amnesia. At that point, we've lived in this life long enough to know that something has influenced you at this point in time that you suddenly don't remember certain key events. And that for me would have been enough evidence as it is to say, you know what, send his ass to jail. Because why are you suddenly forgetting? Why are you
Right.
suddenly forgetting what you said previously in that particular thing? If there had been maybe a discrepancy in terms of, do you know what, actually, when I said this, now I'm remembering it, certain little things, minute changes, then I could have been like, okay, great. But you saying that you now suddenly have complete amnesia, you trying to gaslight me? Because I just heard the whole tape. You can't suddenly now go from there to something completely different. And I think that for me, 100% would have been why I would have been saying his ass is guilty. And actually, that's why I said I think if I'm Tory and I'm innocent, my first thing is that, you know what? This girl flipped. She ain't for me. So I need to come out and tell the whole truth now. I've been hiding certain things. I want to protect you, but now I'm going to tell the whole truth. Okay? All right? I shot 5 in the air. Yes, I did, but it definitely was Kelsey that shot you. I'm trying, you know what I mean? Like something like that. So at that point, it almost felt as if maybe Tory's team and himself maybe probably thought, do you know what? Like you said, there'll be enough doubt, maybe not to maybe even if they don't win the first case, to get it thrown out later on and when they appeal, and maybe go for that second round when they go to appeal this particular verdict. And maybe that's why he also, like I said, didn't take the stand and why it's played out the way it has. But yeah, I personally, this is not snitching. If we're in court and they're asking questions about who shot who, this is not Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah, but when you put your client on the stand, you better know that your client got it all together, and they probably
that's true as well.
You can't put this man on the stand because when he gets crossed by the prosecution, it's going to be a mess. They already seen what happened with their eyewitness. Their eyewitness testimony just completely blew up, And Tori supposed to get on. First of all, Tori is not a sympathetic character. I don't think anybody would have felt any sympathy for him. And I also think just like how Tori is so cocky, he was so cocky through this whole situation. His counsel was probably cocky. They probably was like, no, we threw so many witnesses. Yeah, because they're seeing the lawyers are seeing the media kind of response. They're like, no, he's good. We're gonna get him off. It's gonna be a mistrial at least. Too many people have gone missing, but it's very strange. Back to this witness tampering. Tory's going to be in a lot of trouble if they figure out that Meg's former bodyguard was not present because of him. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. And I think that's going to go into his sentencing because during the sentencing phase, all of this stuff comes to play. If they find out that you were tampering with witnesses, intimidating witnesses, if Meg, now that he's guilty, if Meg the Stallion's former bodyguard feels safe enough to come out and say, hey, I was threatened, that's why I didn't show up. If they find out that he was threatening witnesses, which I think is quite possible, Tory's going to get the max for that. Because I can tell you one thing that people don't like. It's one thing to be drunk and do something stupid. We all, even though we all probably won't put ourselves in that situation, I think we all can think about one drunken night, if you drink, how things went left and bad stuff happened. Everybody can relate to that. I think the judge can relate to that. But what people can't relate to is you tampering with witnesses.
Yeah, that's real. That means now you're trying to...
You know what I mean? To me, that's worse almost than you getting drunk and shooting in the air and fragments landing in drunk and probably on drugs. But now you're trying to. I always notice the cover up when people go through lengths to cover up their bad acts. They the court system doesn't look kindly on that, and so I think Tory's going to be in a lot of trouble for that if that comes out, for sure.
Yeah, I again, like I said, and because obviously he's always maintained that he didn't shoot her. Again, it just kind of adds that little bit of spice and flavor to the situation. And this whole, to be honest, this whole case was a little bit messy. Like you said, it was never a straightforward case. No. It was never a straightforward case in terms of how it got presented to us during the course of this time frame. And there were so many different little things that were happening. Of course, there were lies that were inputted, I'm guessing, from all three sides in terms of the story, and that's why there's so many faulty lines in between the whole storyline. But the reality is, I think, like you said, let's hope, you'd hope that like this could have been, like I said, it was a bad night. And I think this is what I'm trying to say. Like, even if you really deep it, and that's why I said this for me, the biggest thing is this, like, if I've got love for you and I think you're great, I think you're amazing, do you know what I'm saying? And this could have been a whole different story between Meg and Tori, had Tori taken a different route in the very, very beginning. Now, I'm not saying this might not have ended up in the courts because it's not Meg who took it forward. It was the government who've taken it forward. But maybe you might have had somebody in your corner. Maybe the person could have told it in a more synthetic way, that up until these 2 years, the stories would have been about how Tori has changed, how Tori has taken courses to manage his anger, how Tori has made sure that he's met with Black women associations. This would have been the angle to go with, but instead you doubled down to make Meg your enemy after you shot her. And I think that in itself then shows the cruelty. Because if I've done something by mistake and I genuinely have love for you, if I've by mistake, drunk night out, I shot you, I'm like, yo, I am so sorry, efferys. And then you even lie for me because you even, you try to cover my ass a little bit. At that point, I should be like, you know what? Fuck, like, this person's even lying for me. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm gonna do everything in my power to make it up to you. You know what I mean? I may have to have a conversation with you, say, listen, hey, look, there's a ball game I have to play right now because you know what? The media are gonna take it and they're gonna run with it. And you know what? I'm gonna have to do a few things just to kind of, put a particular front up just to show everybody that, that's not my character. But instead, you then made it like you never got shot. I didn't do this. You doubled down, you made music, you know what I'm saying? And then you got into a situation where you're now even having altercations with several people in the next 2 years. It's like, bro, then you don't help yourself in this situation. I can't now look at you from a jury perspective and look at you and go, yeah, this is a brother that's changed. You know what? Maybe we can let him off because it was a mistake. Nah, I'm now thinking to myself, bro, I have to even think to myself, bro, did you do this on purpose? Because you're trying to get away with it like you were a criminal. Did you do it on purpose now? My mind has to switch now from it being a mistake to now being about whether you did it on purpose. Because you had 2 years. Now, I need people to understand this. 2 years to create a different persona for yourself. You didn't.
Yeah, it could have went I was saying to somebody, I'm like, this could have went the Chris Brown route.
Yep.
You could have taken a plea. Maybe you could have negotiated not being deported. Or ask that, this offense be shielded from deportation proceedings, but you'll take accountability. You'll do what you got to do. You'll go on probation. And like you said, take anger management, any drug counseling, alcohol abuse that you have to deal with, and really do something to think about your actions. Knowing the way Meg was willing to lie while she was bleeding for him, I think she would have cooperated with the prosecution, any type of plea deal, so he wasn't buried, because he was just reaching the height of his career. Like, people who are real Tory fans, I've been knowing Tory's one of the most talented artists, in my opinion, that was so underrated for so many years. He was finally getting that recognition, and I guess that's what they were arguing about, because he was with Jack Harlow, and he was finally getting, seen and noticed. And then he goes and does this. Knowing Meg, I think she still would have tried to cover him. But he needs to admit to the public that he shot her. Then he needs to take accountability. And then I don't think she would have tried to bury him. But he left people no choice. No choice. What were we supposed to do? What was anybody supposed to do? You made a joke of her being shot in her foot. That could have hit arteries in your ankles and your leg. There's major arteries. What if she was hitting in her ankle and bled out? Then it wouldn't be a joke, Thank God it hit her foot and it's a big joke, right? But it could have hit her ankle, could have hit a major artery in her leg, and then this would be a different conversation. So I think because she wasn't very harmed and we're so desensitized to harm of people in general, then it was cool for this to happen. And I just think that's disappointing that she had to fight like this for 2 years for this.
Yeah. And it was a very long, arduous 2 years, you know what I mean? And, I you know, we didn't have all the facts at the very beginning, but it was just, again, like I said, I personally, if I'm looking at someone's innocence, I'm looking at what they say, what they do, you know what I mean, in that 2 years time period that we've had. And I you know what, like I said, I wish you would have just come out and just said, you know what, Meg, I'm sorry, man. You know what, I did this, blah, blah, blah. And the reason being, because like I said, it would have shown a great deal of remorse. Because there's no, like, I think I think he really was banking that, and maybe his lawyers were banking on this whole thing of just enough reasonable doubt that this thing happened. Do you know what I mean? Even if you say to me that you felt like you and Kelsey were tussling over the gun and it shot the bullets out, you haven't even given me that. You know what I mean? Like, you haven't even given me that aspect. You just, you know what I mean? You've actually left it so open that I have to either say you or Kelsey. And since the evidence is pointing more towards your ass, and you ain't saying it's Kelsey, you haven't even blown up Kelsey's side of things. I now have to think that either you're covering Kelsey for some reason, we don't know why, but I doubt it's because it's to help her. But more than likely, it's because you are guilty and you don't take the stand either, because you know that, like you said, if you are going to take a stand, they are going to cross-examine you, and that could potentially put you further into trouble. Then in that situation, you know what I mean, I can't have that, you know, empathy, and I can't feel sorry for you. He needs to go to the jail for the how many years they're going to give him, and you got to sit there and think about what you did, you know, because your behavior leading up to that was crazy. When they were dragging Meg, you weren't there to defend her. When you know, these blogs and I'm on Twitter and I'm seeing some of the crazy narratives that were there. Someone mentioned Joe Budden. We don't talk about Joe Budden on this side of this thing because personally, I find his behavior despicable. I find it disgusting, if I'm honest with you. But some of the things that he's done, you know, I'm always happy for men to turn their life around, but some of the things he's done, he's an abuser. It's straight up. I'll just say it straight up. Some of the things that he's done.
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
He talks crazy to women. I will say he talks crazy to people in general, but he gets a little fizz every day. Extra to him. Him and academics get real crazy when they're talking to women. It's like I don't know why they feel so buck talking to women and only want to calm down when men check them. I think that's toxic. Are we happy we're done with this? I'm happy we're done. I mean, he's gonna appeal it, I'm sure.
Yeah, so we will see more of this stuff in how long do you, well, we won't know how long it takes, but
next week, I think, after Christmas.
Gracious King.
So we have to come back. We have to talk about that. Sentencing is next week, and I think that's what we're gonna see, how much he's gonna get. And I think if we're gonna see the biggest turnaround, it's gonna be between now and next week. For him, how do you mean by biggest turnaround? Remorse. If he wants a lighter, he's going to have to show remorse for a lighter sentence. Like, you're guilty now, it's time to show remorse. And if he still doesn't, yeah.
Would do you think he would do that now, when he's looking for potentially could be looking for an appeal?
I don't think he will. I think he's gonna. I don't know. I don't want to say what I think. I think it would be smart for him to. He has a better chance of getting probation and some type of reasonable sentence than trying to just stick with his story and then let the judge sentence him. Because I don't think the judge is going to be very kind to him based on everything I said with him intimidating witnesses. So he needs to show humility and be apologetic. Or the prosecution is going to use their discretion to go after him for witness tampering. So this can go from bad to worse for him. I think
extra few more years on top of 8.
Yeah, humility is the best route because he has real charges that can probably be proven against him for sure. Kelsey, baby just needs to go sit down somewhere. I don't know what they're going to do with her, but Tori, he's been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I think that's going to come out. So he needs to show some humility all the way around. Yep.
It's not easy out here, baby. No easy. All right. Well,
was it January 27th? I don't know why I thought it was next week, but maybe it is January.
So he's got about a month. That's a long time to wait, B. Hopefully that month he'll be able to think about it.
Y'all let me know. I thought it was next week, but It could be next month. It's the 27th. Okay, January. So he got a minute to figure it out.
It's gonna be tight. I hope he has time to think about what he's done. Sit there and think.
That's a lot of time.
What did I do?
Bail was denied. He's sitting in there. He's not out. So I think some time locked up will make you think. That's a month locked up. If that don't make you think, I don't know what will. It's 30 days in there to think about your actions. I would say I'm sorry. Personally. What are y'all saying? Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Someone said don't drop the soap. All right. Well, listen, guys, I'm gonna hop off now. And thank you, Seaway. I'll be on tomorrow, so hopefully we can talk a bit more about the case in greater depth.
Yeah, I'll be around.
After Christmas, we'll talk more in greater depth. But yeah, audience members, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you. Yeah, listen, you know what? I call this a win, if I'm honest with you. You know, this is justice being served, and justice has to be served in this particular case. If you're not going to be remorseful about your actions, this is what you get. So we'll pay attention and keep our ears close to the ground to see what happens else with Tori and Megan. But tomorrow we'll discuss lunch period time. Actually, it's going to be 7 o'clock for you guys, but lunch period time for me. We'll be discussing about Master P, Romeo, Akon, Nick Cannon. We're going to be talking about, this craziness of fatherhood and some of the comments that made. Akon is trending currently on Shade Room and in the UK, actually, because he did it with the UK
for defending Nick
interviewer. Yeah, he said something about he agreed with Nick Cannon, and also said about how being present at all recitals is a white people's thing.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, it's gonna get bad. So tomorrow we're gonna dive into that kind of stuff and break it all the way down. But audience members, don't do anything I wouldn't do. I appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded, and we'll see you again tomorrow. And have a happy Christmas Eve as well, in that sense, by tomorrow, by the 23rd. I appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded.